Hello and welcome back to my tutorial class. So today we are going to do another question from contract costing topic, that is question from Common Test October 2019. So please refer to question number 2. Okay students, this is the question from Common Test October 2019, Teras Millennium Sdn Bhd. As usual, the first strategy is we must read the question from the beginning till the end. Okay, so make sure you are able to grasp all the important information before we proceed with the requirement of the question. As usual, we are going to prepare number 1, the construction in progress account. Okay, please take note again. We have to round up the percentage of the completion to the nearest percentage. Next, we are going to prepare the contractee account. Finally, we have to determine whether there is a contract asset or contract liability for the company. Okay, let's move on to the next slide. From the first paragraph of the question, we must be able to identify the basic information as I have highlighted before. Okay, remember what are the information that we need to identify? Okay, number 1, we need to know who is the contractor. Number 2, we need to know who is the contractee. Next, the contract price which agreed by both parties. Finally, we must be able to identify the contract and reporting period. Okay, so all the information is actually already stated in the early paragraph of the question. You can extract the information of contractor. Here, the contractor is referring to Teras Millennium Sdn Bhd. Remember, contractor is the party who undertake the contract job. The contractee is referring to the owner of the project who award the contract to the contractor. So, the contractee here is referring to the client who award the contractor to construct the petrol station in Tanjung Gemuk. Okay, what are the contract price of this contract? In the first paragraph, we can see that in the last line, it is stated that the contract price is 2,500,000. So it's like the sales price which has been agreed by both parties. Last but not least, another important information here is that we need to identify the contract period and the reporting period. Okay, as mentioned in the first paragraph, the contract will commence on 1st September 2018 and expected to be completed in February 2021. So it takes more than 1 year to be completed. And for the reporting period, the company will close its account on 30th June 2019. Okay, therefore, the accounting period will start on 1st July 2018 and we will close the account on 30th June 2019. Okay class, once we have this basic information, let us start preparing the contract account. Let's prepare the first question. Prepare the construction in progress account or the contract account. Okay, recall the contract account is to be prepared in the form of the account. Therefore, we will have debit side and the credit side. Among the adjustment for debit side are the expenses that we put into the contract, and the credit entry we recorded the transactions such as the income or revenue that we receive from the contract. Okay, so at the end we will match all the cost and the revenue to derive to the amount called the profit of the contract. Okay, so we start with identifying the transaction that need to be recorded in the progress account. We will go one by one of the following information. Number one, you are required to identify the debit or credit entry for this material cost. Let us do together. As for this material cost, the cost of material which transferred from the central cost to the site is to be recorded in the debit side because these are the costs incurred for the contract. Similar to the material which purchased directly from supplier and sent to site, meaning this material is to be used in the contract, therefore it is the cost. And these two is to be recorded in the debit side. While the material that is transferred to another contract in Mersing, this cost is not belong to the contract, therefore it will be recorded in the credit side. And last one, the material at site on 30th June 2019 refer to the unused material at the end, therefore it will be carried forward to the next reporting period and is to be recorded in the credit side. Okay, number 2. We have another cost that is machine that is brought to the site, and this machine is actually has been used in another contract. So how much cost that we need to record it? Given here is the original cost of the machine of 240,000. Take note that it has been used for exactly 2 years, and additional information of annual depreciation is also given, where the annual depreciation is 240,000 and the basis of depreciation is to be charged on monthly basis. Here we have the cost. However, the amount of cost need to be adjusted with the amount of depreciation. Therefore, we need to find the carrying value of the asset, and we are going to debit the cost with adjustment of the depreciation for the 2 previous year. So please show your working in your account later on. We're done with number 1, number 2. Now move to number 3. Again, we have other costs here. So all these costs need to be recorded in the contract account in the debit side. However, please take note that we are given 2 different amounts here. They are the cost incurred and also the cash paid for the cost. So we have to be very careful to identify correctly which are the amount that we need to be recorded in the contract account. Recall the concept of the contract account. So this contract account, as mentioned earlier, it more or less the same as per trading and profit and loss account. Therefore, this account need to be prepared on accrual basis. Yes. So, whatever expenses incurred for the year is to be recognized fully, and whatever revenue earned need to be recognized fully regardless of the cash paid and cash received. But for additional information number 3, we are only focused with the cost. Let us go one by one. Number 1, wages for labor incurred is 180,000, but the cash paid is only 165,000. Here you are going to debit the cash paid and you need to plus another debit entry for the accrued transaction. So we have to find the accrued wages in this case. So there will be 2 debit entry for wages for labor. Next, subcontractor charges. The amount that the cost that incurred is 184,000. But the cash paid is greater than that, 94,000. So we are going to record the 94,000 in the debit side, However, we are going to record another entry in the credit side for the prepayment. Okay, for the prepayment of subcontractor wages. Subcontractor charges, because we have overpaid, okay, the amount. Next, other direct expenses incurred for the year is 80,000, but you only paid 70,000. Therefore, the 70,000 will be recorded in the debit entry plus another debit entry which refer to the accrued portion of the direct expenses. So how to find the portion of the accrued and prepaid? What you need to do is that you need to identify the difference between the incurred value and the paid value. Okay, last but not least, under additional information number 3, the general expenses incurred for the year is 50,000 and the amount is fully paid. So this one, we have no adjustment. We just have to record the 51,000 in the debit side. Okay, done with number 3. Next, move on to number 4 is about the overhead costs. So overhead cost again is a cost that incurred to the project. Therefore, we need to record it in the debit side. However, the amount is not given, but we have to do some working here where the overhead is charged at 10% of the cost of material. So again, we have to refer to additional information. Number 1, to figure out how much the cost of material used for that reporting period. Okay, next, number 5 is about the progress payment. It is said that the progress payment is subjected to 15% retention money. And then another information stated that the cash of 1,105,000 has been received from the contractee of the work certified. So here is that we are given the hint that we need to find the progress billing. Okay, we have to find out the progress billing when we prepare the contractee account later on. Okay, number 6. Estimate future costs to complete the contract amounted to 560,000. Rectification and warranty costs for the contract are estimated to 240,000. Okay, so here we have information about future costs, and then we have another cost here, rectification and warranty cost. Okay, this amount will be used later on when we want to calculate the contract value to find the profit for the contract. Okay, so how do we know that we are going to use this information? Because in the last information, it is said that it is the company's policy to recognize the profit for the contract based on the input or cost method. So recall the formula of using the cost method is where we need to find the proportion of cost of work done to date from the estimated total contract cost. So the estimated total contract cost consists of cost of work done to date plus the future cost. So this future cost is actually referring to this additional information. Okay, let us move on to the next slide to prepare the contract account. This is the suggested solution for contract account of Teros Millennium Sdn Bhd. Let's open the contract account together. So we start with the title, the name of the contractor, followed by the name of the contract account. So we are going to calculate this item. First, the cost of work done to date, followed by the contract revenue, and finally we can recognize the profit of the contract for the reporting period. So how are we going to calculate the cost of work done? Let's record the transaction that incurred for the contract. Okay, in last slide we have discussed and classified all the transactions that need to be recorded in the contract account. There are transactions to be recorded in the debit side and in the credit side. So for the item or the transaction which need to be recorded in the debit side are as follow. We start with the materials transferred from central store, followed by the material purchased from supplier, then wages paid for the year, plus the accrued portion of the wages incurred for the year, and then the machinery at carrying value, followed by the subcontractor charges paid for the year, and then other direct expenses paid, the adjustment for the accrued portion of the direct expenses incurred, followed by the general expenses paid, and the overhead charge for the year. So these are the transactions which will be shown in the debit side. Okay, we move to the credit side. Okay, these are the transactions that need to be shown in the credit side. The first one is the materials transferred to other side, followed by the material at hand or at site at the end of the year, and then the machinery at carrying value at the end of the year, followed by the prepaid portion for the subcontractor paid for the year. And finally, after we have matched the debit transaction and the credit transaction, we will have the cost of work done to date by 800,000. Okay, so this is the answer of cost of work done to date. So before we recognize further the profit for the year, I would like to remind you on the item which need further adjustment. As an example here, the overhead charge for the year is not given. However, in the additional information, it is stated that the overhead is charged at 10% based on the material use. So, how much is the material use? We have to go back to the additional information, or in the account itself. We can see here that the materials transferred from central store and material purchased from supplier is the total material that we put into the contract. However, there are some amount of the material has been transferred to other site or to other project. And the material at hand or the unused material at the reporting period is also given. Therefore, the amount of the material used is need to be adjusted as follow. At the end, you will get 35,000 of the overhead charges. Okay, next, other working that we need to show is the value of the machinery to be recorded. Since this machinery is the use, or we call it as second-hand machinery, therefore we need to show the carrying value of the machinery for this contract. Okay, the original amount of machinery is 240,000. Since this machinery has been used for about 2 years, therefore at 1st September 2018, when we bring the machinery into this contract, we must calculate the amount of its carrying value. So we have to adjust for the total depreciation incurred for the last 2 years. Therefore, the carrying value of the machinery at 1st September 2018, which the cost to the contract is only 192,000. Okay, at the end of the reporting period, we must adjust the machinery value to its carrying value to reflect of its current usage. Therefore, as at 30th June 2019, again, we will adjust for the depreciation incurred for the year. However, since we only use this machine started on 1st September 2018, we will provide the depreciation for 10 months out of the year. Since this is mentioned in the additional information where the depreciation is to be calculated based on monthly basis. So the carrying value at the end of the year will be 172,000. Okay. So this amount will be carried forward in the following period. Okay, students. So now we have come to the next section where we will bring down the cost of work done to date, okay, and compare it with the contract revenue in order to recognize the profit for the year. However, the contract value here is not given. is not given. Therefore, what are we going to do is that we are going to calculate the contract revenue for the reporting period. Okay, recall the formula of profit to be recognized. Okay, profit to be recognized for the year is the difference between the contract revenue and cost of work done to date. Okay, so this is the formula. The profit is recognized by subtracting the cost of work done to date from the contract revenue. Okay, how to find the contract revenue? Based from the question, the contract revenue is to be shown in, yes, in this form of formula, where the contract revenue is measured based on the progress completion. How to find the percentage of completion? Okay, based from the question, the percentage of completion is to be measured based on the cost basis or based on the input method. Okay, this is the formula of input method, where the portion of cost of work done to date from the estimated total contract cost. Okay, let us look together how to find the percentage of completion based from the formula. Cost of work done to date is 800,000. Okay, 800,000. And then the estimated total cost is the cost of work done to date plus future cost. So do you have any future cost? Yes. If we recall back the question, okay, the estimated total cost, the future cost is referring to warranty cost and the rectification cost. So don't forget to add this cost into the determination of estimated total contract cost. Therefore, the percentage of completion is 50% after has been rounded up to the nearest percentage. Okay, after we have calculate the percentage of completion, the next step is we are going to find the total of contract revenue for the year. So the contract revenue for the year here is 1,250,000 after we have translate it into the formula. Once we have identified the contract revenue, then only we can recognize the profit for the year. So the profit for the year is 450,000. Okay, so the contract account then will be continued by recording all the carrying amount for the material which need to be used in the next accounting period, followed by the machinery, and then the adjustment for the prepayment of subcontractor charges, and the accrued value for wages and direct expenses. Okay, let us prepare the contractee account next. Next requirement is to prepare the contractee account. The concept of contractee account is just the same as per accounts receivable. Whatever amount that increase the debt of the contractee is to be debited. Alternatively, amount that reduce the debt of the contractee is to be credited. Therefore, there are three important items which need to be recorded in the contractee account. The first one is the progress billing. Okay, this is the amount that billed by the contractor to contractee, which based on the value of work certified for that reporting period. So it should be debit to the account. Next, the amount of the progress payment. So progress payment here refer to the amount paid by the contractee to the contractor and less any retention money. So it should be credited in the contractee account, while the retention money is to be recorded or adjusted in the credit entry. Okay, first of all, we have to debit the account of contractee with the progress billing. However, the amount of progress billing is not given directly in the question. Therefore, we have to work on the other way around, where we have to start with the progress payment or the cash received from the contractee. Therefore, we are going to calculate the progress billing based from this equation. Progress billing is equal to progress payment plus any retention money. You see, now we are going to find this amount. So in order to find the progress billing, we are already given the amount of progress payment, and we need to find the amount of retention money. So let us continue with this equation. The amount of progress billing is still unknown, but the progress payment is already given. So we substitute the value into this equation. The retention money is also not given. However, we know that the retention money is 15% out of the value of work certified. Therefore, we can write the equation as follows. Next, let us simplify the equation to calculate the amount of progress billing. Okay, therefore, the amount of progress billing is 1,300,000 after we have simplified this equation. Last but not least, now we can find the amount of retention money. So we can recalculate the amount of retention money to see whether it ties back to the difference or not. So retention money is equal to 15% out of the progress billing or value of work certified. And the amount is 195,000. So it is tied back to the difference between these 2 and 3. Okay, the last requirement is to identify whether there is a contract asset or contract liability arise from this question. As usual, we start by determining the contract revenue. So the contract revenue here refer to the cost of work done to date plus any recognized profit for the year. So the amount of contract revenue here is 1,250,000. Next, we compare it with the amount of progress billing. So the amount is 1,300,000. Since the amount of progress billing or the amount that we bill to customer or contractee is greater than the contract revenue, so we have a negative value here by 50,000. This refers to the contract liability. So this contract liability will be recorded or will be disclosed in the statement of financial position under current liability section, as this negative value is the amounts that due to our customer. Okay student, that's all for today's tutorial class. As a reminder, before you start preparing the answer for contract costing, make sure you are able to identify all these basic guidelines. May this basic information will help you easier to prepare the next answer. Okay, with that, thank you and see you again in another class.